notice on it.
Oh yeah, I certainly will. Okay, we're up and rolling. Mr. Evans, I want to get back into this business about the Dumanis. Did you ever receive any threats to your life from the Dumanis?
Never.
Did you ever receive any threats that you perceived as being threats?
Not from the Dumanis. No, we had our eye. Listen, it's so unfair even to ask. I hate to even dignify the question, only for one reason. Even by asking the question, it brings a tone of guilt. And if you're bringing out reports of...
You filed an affidavit in federal court, an affidavit under oath, that said that, quote, Ed Dumani was abusive and threatening. He repeatedly said things to me which I found frightening.
You know something? I repeatedly said things to him that he found frightening. When you're in court and you're fighting a battle, you go in to win, you don't go in to lose, or else you don't go into court.
Did he say this to you?
I didn't say anything specific there, did I? Read it.
It says here,
What?
I tell you what, Bob, you're quoting in this affidavit, you're quoting Dumani. I tell you what, Bob, you keep everything. You keep all the points, keep all the money, it's all right with me. I just hope you live to enjoy it.
You know something?
Your affidavit also continues, sir, and it says, Bob, I'll die before I let you take anything out of that picture, or words to that effect.
At the same time, or that's at a different time?
That's your affidavit,
I
sir.
don't have my reading glasses, but I can read that, and it says nothing at all. It depends how you read it in a very judgmental way. I could read it and say, hey, look, Bob, you can have all the points you want, and if that's the way you feel about it, you keep them. And there's nothing threatening about that.
Weren't you in fear for your life at one point here?
I was in fear for my life and other reasons.
Why?
Because I was so exhausted and being hit by so many people on so many things. I worked 7 days a week, hadn't seen my kid in a year and a half. I was working 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, trying to make payroll every week. That's what I was feared for. I thought the picture would be closed down. And the picture was closed down in the middle of the film and people would be washed out. Damn right I was scared. But that wasn't the Dumanis. That was my own inadequacies as a producer, starting a picture without a completion bond. The Dumanis, they're virgins to this. I brought them into this.
But your own affidavit, sir, says that they made threats. You attested to that under oath.
There's nothing I said in this that's incorrect, because it's under oath. But where is the word threats? I have to get my reading glasses, if I may, to answer this. These are not reading glasses. But I can only attest to the fact that when you go into court to win a case, you don't lie, because I went under oath. But it's the way, as the Dumani said things about me, that can be interpreted in many different ways, which attorneys tell you to do things. The best proof of it is that the Dumanis and I are best friends today. And I had to protect my rights in this film. When you're fighting for your life, you protect yourself. I don't mean you lie, but you vomit up a lot of things. The Dumanis did the same to me, and yet I knew in the spirit in which it was done that it wasn't out of they're fighting to win. Coppola did things that will never be forgiven for me, though.
Let's pause just for a moment. Did you need to change?
I don't know what you're saying here.
Pardon? We're fine? Well, I'm reading the affidavit here, too.
Are we off now?
No, we're continuing to roll.
I can't. If I could get my reading glasses, I could read it in. These are unfortunately, as I say, my reading glasses.
Let me just go on here.
I would rather not.
I understand, but there's a couple of other matters here involving this that I do need to cover with you while we're here. This affidavit states that you received calls from other individuals, supposedly representing Dumani. Let me read this to you. It says,
are we really, Pat?
Other calls began coming in from Las Vegas individuals representing Dumani.
Representing Dumani?
Representing Dumani. That's what your affidavit said.
Right. They wanted me to sign these papers that I was very obstinate in wanting to sign. And they were right in wanting to sign it. They had an investment up and the pictures were closed down. They said things to me that in the spirit of wrath, I can understand them saying, you can interpret it many ways.
Who were these people who called you?
I would not mention their names. It's no one's business, certainly not yours.
Were these Las Vegas figures?
One was not. But not Las Vegas figures bad. The people in Las Vegas were very representative people. I think the Dumanis most probably have gotten the rawest deal of anybody. Even the inferences that are made to their character is unfair. They have paid off like a bank to me. They couldn't have been more honorable. They couldn't have lived up to their promises more than they have. They were angry at me. And you know something? They had a right to be angry at me. They went in to invest $12 million, which was totally covered, and they were in for $30 million, which was not covered, because I brought in a director who I got my knees wanting to have, and they paid for my decision. And they had every right in being disturbed with me. I don't blame them at all. They didn't have every right to want to get back the controls they had because they didn't have the professionalism to handle them, and I did. I was fighting in this thing to protect them more than myself. Because if they would have won the case, and apparently it's wonderful in our courts today when you consider I went in with no investment against $47 million against me, and the director, the director, the financier, and the distributor all against me, and I won. There must have been a reason I won. It wasn't because of those statements. I won because of my 20 years in this business and what I could contribute to getting this picture finished.
How much money did Sorkis Webby of St. Louis have in this picture?
None.
Did Victor Saya ever talk to you about Sorkis Webby?
I don't wish to discuss this on. Yes, I like Sarkis. I've met Sarkis. I like him. I have met him on several occasions, and I can only speak very well of Sarkis Webby.
What was his involvement in this picture?
He was a friend of court. I would call him for advice, quite frankly. And his advice was he's a very fine attorney. I don't know whether you realize that or not.
You know the Justice Department has identified him as one of the major figures in organized crime in the United States today?
I know the Justice Department have said that about a lot of people. That isn't true.
Mr. Webby's been convicted, filing false income tax returns.
I think, just like Edward Moses, sometimes our law enforcement officers do things in very, very bad judgment. I think this could be one of them. Because as far as Sarkis Webby goes, I'll stand up for him anytime. He's been a fine friend for me, and I like him. And I must tell you that. I don't know anything else about him. You can only judge someone how they are to you. Sarkis Webby has been totally honorable to me, and to me, he's aces. That doesn't mean the government is right just because they do things.
Has Joey Cusimano been totally up front with you?
I haven't spent that much time with Joey Cusimano to pass judgment on him. Whatever he's done with me, I think he's been fine. Again, I say I can only judge someone how they are to me. I think Joey's a terrific guy. I have no fault with Joey. I don't know that much about his past. I think it can be very exaggerated. The media can be awfully ugly, Mr. Clausen. Awfully ugly. As well as law enforcement people can have terribly wrong, inverse justice just to make headlines to pay for their particular departments from government.
According to your own affidavit, you were aware that there were rumors that Mr. Cusimano had underworld connections.
Where there were rumors. You know the rumors that I've heard in my life, Mr. Clausen. If I had to get into them with you, I could fill this entire property here with papers of rumors about myself. I've heard rumors of myself that are so ludicrous you have to laugh at them. I don't care about rumors. I go one step further. There are more than rumors. There's Life magazine had an article that I was in the same magazine with Joey. He was involved with something. I was involved with a movie. He was involved with something else. I don't care about that. They're rumors. I live in a town of rumors. Washington is a town of rumors. My God, if those rumors are all factual, no one would be in Washington today, and no one would be in Hollywood today. I certainly wouldn't be here. If one half of the rumors that are about me were out, I'd have a much more exciting life than I have.
According to the New Jersey Casino Commission,
I don't care about the New Jersey.
Mr. Cusimano is affiliated with organized crime.
That's according to the New Jersey, I'd like to know who.
The New Jersey authorities also say that the Domaney brothers in Las Vegas have numerous associations with organized crime figures.
How do you live in Las Vegas for 25 years and not meet people who are in organized crime? It doesn't mean they're involved with them. They're stand-up guys, the Domaneys. They're no different than me. If I met the worst gangster in the world and I met him and he was nice to me, I would not speak badly about them. I'd be up to defend him. I can't say the Domaneys not at all, by the way. They're fine people. They're both college graduates. One is an attorney, come from a very fine family in Beverly Hills. Grew up not in Las Vegas. They went in there to have 2 small motels. They have lived up to their honor to me better than any businessman, more than any studio I've ever known. They're top people as far as I'm concerned.
Why would you knowingly do business with people with organized crime associations?
They don't reputed or having. See, what you're doing is very unfair. You're putting an onus on someone through rumor, not through proof. There's no proof on the Domaneys in that way. Just because they stood up for somebody that they liked as a friend does not make them guilty. I would do the same thing. I have great resentment where through innuendo and quarter truths people are looked upon in a bad light. An indictment, by the way, is not a conviction. An indictment is an indictment. Anyone can get indicted. It's a different department than convicts.
Well, in the case of Sarkis Webby, he has actually been
I
convicted.
don't know about it. I don't know whether he's been convicted or not. The only thing I know about Sarkis Webby is I could call him at any time of day or night. He's been to my home several times. I'm very fond of him. I will continue to be his friend, and maybe he's getting a raw deal. The government has done that before. And I just know that Sarkis Webby, as far as I'm concerned, is aces. And I never expected these questions to be asked me today. They are asked me, and I don't know what the consequences of even my answers are. I don't care. You know why? Because when people are fine with me, I'll speak fine of them and say well of them. And it could be other people who are of higher stature or higher opinions who have done things to me that are really of the lowest ilk, and I'll say it right out loud. But when it comes to the Domainis, they're fine people, a lot finer and a lot more upstanding and honest than a lot of people who have titles of having, who have titles of being such, from law enforcement to judicial onward, up and down. And I'm very friendly with a lot of people in government, a lot of people, as is your boss, Ted Turner. And I know Ted very well, and I think Ted would be saying the same thing as I'm saying if I was sitting here being interviewed by you. He's that kind of a man. And he's a singular individualist, Ted. I am the same. And I'll be friendly with Sarkis Webby because I like him as a human being, and I don't believe a lot of things that have been said about him. I think they're after him.
Are you friendly with Joey Cusimano?
Not particularly friendly with Joey, no. But you know something?
What was Cusimano's role in this picture?
He played an important role in this picture. He came in there and tightened the reins. I couldn't do it.
Why not?
Because contractually I couldn't. Francis, maybe because they're both Italian, he got along with him. I don't know. And I don't know how good
He got along well with Francis Ford
very
Coppola.
well with Francis. Very, very well with Francis. Did a very good job, Joey. And I don't know. He did things I couldn't have accomplished. I can tell you that. Basically, getting along with Francis. I can spend an hour on Francis, which I won't give you the.
I'd like to know about Cusimano. Did Cusimano ever threaten you?
Never threatened me. Joey, I'll go one step further. Joey stayed in my house with me, and I liked having him there. We had a lot of laughs. We would have dinner every night. A lot of fun together. I like Joey. I think he's a terrific guy.
Even though you're aware of his reputed connections.
Reputed. You use the word, quote, reputed, correct? That's alleged, reputed. All those words. Has a man been proven guilty of anything? I'm asking you, Mr. Crossmason.
Cusimano has never been convicted of a crime, but again, Mr. Webby has been.
Isn't it strange that Cusimano hasn't, after all the government efforts to do something on it?
And there's quite an extensive public record in Kansas City that the Domaini brothers were involved with the Tropicana Hotel at a time when organized crime elements, the mafia, were skimming cash off of the hotel.
I only know that Domainis are builders of the Tropicana Hotel. I think the Domainis are so naive, quite frankly, that they know more involved with organized crime than you are. Maybe you are, I don't know. But I don't think the Domainis were, because they're so naive. They're too good for the turf, the Domainis. They're too good to be in the picture business. People took advantage of them here. I'm sure people have taken advantage of them in Las Vegas. I'm not saying how bright the Domainis are. One thing I can say is they are not of the ilk to be involved with organized crime, but they are dumb enough to stand up for people who are friends of theirs, even though they can hurt themselves. I use the word dumb affectionately, may I say. And maybe I'm dumb enough to be sitting here and saying this to you. But when people have given me $47 million to make a movie and make a dream of mine, and stood behind me all the way, and it'll be in my home for dinner tomorrow night or 3 nights ago, damn right I'll stand up for them, because there are very few stand-up guys like that. I met many business.
You apparently had a tough time with the Domainis.
Sure I did.
According to the record that we've examined.
I had a very tough time with them, and if I were them, I would have taken it out on me even worse. I put them into a deal where they couldn't lose money, and instead they lost a fortune.
Did they try to muscle you?
No, they're so different than muscle me.
Your lawyers said in court papers that they used Las Vegas muscle in an effort to intimidate you.
That was not to do with money, and they didn't use Las Vegas muscle to intimidate me. They had investors in the film, who if I didn't sign certain papers, turning over my rights of distribution, and rights which I didn't want to do. I was fighting from an artistic point of view, and they were fighting, and that's in every business, in any deal here, and this happens. I don't care. I've had lawyers intimidate me a lot more than I've had people who call me on the phone.
So there were other investors other than Mr. Domaini and Mr. Saya into this picture?
No, the investors are people they borrowed money from and had to pay them back because they only intended to put X amount of dollars in this film. And they had to put X plus Y plus Z into the picture, all of which they didn't expect, nor did they have if they were so rich. They didn't have this. They had to sell off assets. They had to sell off points in the hotel they had part of, in the Golden Nugget. They had to take from the kids' trust funds. They did everything they could to keep this picture alive. And let me tell you something, as a picture maker, I looked at them very highly. And I want to make this real clear. I hope this is not cut and taken out of context, because I'll stand in front of a jury. I'll stand in front of a government investigation, and as far as I'm concerned, they demeaned it 10 foot high, because they backed me when I needed backing, where very few people would have done it. And they didn't back me with what I've heard is dirty money or anything. They went into their kids' trust funds. And they're fine people. These people are college graduates. They wanted a graduate lawyer. They're fine, moral people, and I think, and I feel very guilty about getting involved in a business as highly profiled as the film business, where innuendos like you're making today, to me, are brought out, and it's unfair to them.
Are you a drug addict?
A drug addict? I take a sleeping pill. I take Neputol at night. I've taken suppository to put me to sleep. I've taken Dalmane, taken Valium. So maybe I'm a drug addict. I don't know. No, I'm not a drug addict on any level.
According to an affidavit that Mr. Dumaney filed in federal court here in Los Angeles.
I did not file it in federal court in Los Angeles. Do your homework in that, because it doesn't say I was a drug addict.
The case is on file. You're familiar with the affidavit then, aren't you?
Where is it?
This affidavit is part of the court record downtown here at Los Angeles Federal Court.
Mr. Gloster, where is it?
Sir, it was filed in connection with the case that was pending downtown here in Las Vegas, in Los Angeles Federal Court.
I asked you where it was filed.
I'm telling you where it was filed. It was filed.
All canceled out.
This affidavit is also on file here in Los Angeles, sir.
Not used as testimony.
In this affidavit,
Yes,
this affidavit you're familiar with.
I know about it, yes.
Mr. Dumaney says here, quote, I flew to New York and found Evans secluded in his bedroom in an incoherent and drugged state. Since I didn't want to...
It was not part of the record of the case they brought in Los Angeles.
Since I didn't want to cause Evans or the production any embarrassment because of his drug addiction, I tried to convince him to straighten out the film's problems.
It's very unfair for you to bring this on the air now, and I'm really resentful of it, and I'd like to walk out right now, because I'm surprised you're doing this bad.
Were you in a drug state in New York? Is that why you were having problems overseeing the film? Is that why the problems with the film developed?
Are you in a drug state now? Are you?
No, sir, I'm not.
But I asked the question. It's not even an attractive question to ask, is it to you? That's how unattractive it is for you to ask me.
Sir, did this film go over budget because you were in a cocaine stupor?
I don't
and couldn't deal with it?
Is that clear? I hope it's clear.
You were convicted once of possessing it.
And what's that?
You were convicted once.
No, you don't do your homework. I was not convicted of possessing cocaine. I was 3,000 miles away. So how can my arm isn't quite that long enough to be convicted of something there. I was 3,000 miles away. If you do your homework, you'll see that I was never convicted of possessing cocaine, ever. And there's a misdemeanor brought against me that I pleaded guilty to a I'll tell you exactly what it was called. It was I'm trying to think of what it was called. It was because I couldn't be convicted of possession when you're 3,000 miles away. I was in Los Angeles when this thing happened. So I don't think my arm is 3,000 miles long, but it was called not possession, it's called conspiracy to possess. And I wanted to plead not guilty, okay? You know why I didn't plead not guilty? Because of people like you, who are so judgmental, that if I went to court and pleaded not guilty, because I'm from Hollywood, it was a wonderful case, and I'd go to the wheel when you're there, and pick out any judge. I could have gotten a judge that would have loved to have made me Mr. Hollywood, and made me guilty of something. I'm going to get a jury. I'd be in the paper for 9 months. But I pleaded not guilty under one condition, that I get it's up to the judge to give me a complete, it's called judge of entry of declaratory innocence, if he so wished, which means I have nothing on my record. And you do your homework, Mr. Clausen. There's nothing on my record. Nothing was taken off because I was innocent. But you know, the judge got 5,000 letters to give me a sentence because that's what inverse justice is. And the judge read the case and saw that I was innocent. So I was never convicted of that. Please understand.
When you
that.
did.
But I was
Fine.
never convicted of that.
Let's change tapes just for a moment.